In 1953, a groundskeeper in Stanley Park discovered the skeletal remains of 2 children buried in some brush near Beaver Lake. At the time, we didn't know really anything about these children, including their genders, how they got there, or how they died. These children had been left in the park for approximately 5 years, we believe, and the brush in the park had overgrown to such a point that they weren't discovered until 5 years later when this groundskeeper was doing some work. And we're hoping that with the help of the Redgrave team, we will finally be able to put a name to these boys who were discovered and potentially identify the person who killed them. What we know is that these 2 children were boys, approximately 7 and 8 years old. They were murdered. They were bludgeoned with a hatchet. When they were discovered, their skeletal remains were discovered with very obvious hatchet marks in their skulls. We know that their bodies had been placed on the ground and covered with what we believe to be a woman's fur jacket, and the jacket had been laid over top of the boys. There was some clothing on them that had deteriorated. There was an old picnic basket near them with, I believe, petrified food still inside it, and there was an old hatchet, which we believe was the weapon that was used to kill the boys. We're hoping this process will allow the Redgrave team to essentially build a family tree based on DNA that we've managed to extract from the bones of these 2 boys. The bones that we've extracted the DNA from have been with the coroner's service for a number of years, and just recently we were able to extract some of that DNA to get a DNA profile, and we've sent that DNA to the Redgrave team. They'll now be using it to search through various databases that include DNA from people who have willingly submitted their DNA to private companies, and the hope is that they'll be able to piece together a family tree and help us identify whether a living relative or a deceased relative to these boys, which will then generate some new leads for us to be able to follow up on. And it may be as simple as us getting some names that we are able to track down to try and understand better who these boys were and where they came from.